Yes. Good morning. Buenos dias. My name is Tonny Gallippi. I'm one of the co-founders of BitPay. We are a Bitcoin payments company. We were one of the pioneers in that space, and we're the largest in that service today in the world. Looks like we skipped ahead. Let's go back to... There we go. So BitPay was founded in May of 2011 during the first of many Bitcoin price bubbles. I think that was the one that went from $1 up to 30 and then back to 2. Today we've got 38 employees worldwide. We're based in Atlanta. We've got some teams here in Argentina. We've got some teams in San Francisco, and then our European team is based in Amsterdam. We've raised over $32 million from some major venture capital firms in the US, Europe, and Asia. These are some of the companies that are using our service. Some of these you may have seen in the news, some of them you may not. But we work with Microsoft. You can top up your Xbox account with Bitcoin. That's a very popular service. We just announced a partnership with Intel that I'll get to in a minute. And then we have some merchants that natively accept Bitcoin as payment for their goods and services, such as Newegg, Virgin Galactic. We've got a couple of airlines, Namecheap, if you want to buy and register a domain name, things like that. And then Steam, we added earlier this year. It's a video game platform where you can top up your Steam account and buy all kind of games and in-game items. So what we do, we offer a payment acceptance service. This is where a business can accept Bitcoin as a form of payment from anywhere in the world. We also have a disbursements product. This is where a company can pay out to many endpoints around the world. And then we have a wallet application. You may have heard of that. It's called Copay. I'll talk to that in a minute. But this allows businesses to start using Bitcoin without actually touching Bitcoin. Most of them want to treat it as a foreign currency, not something they want to record on their books. So we can convert it to their local currency and settle it to their bank. And with that service, we almost just look like any other payment processor they have, their credit card processor. If you were to go to a store here and swipe your card, that merchant is going to get pesos. However, you're probably going to pay in dollars or euros, but this business here never has to account for revenue in dollars or euros. Everything they do is in pesos. And our platform works the same way, treating Bitcoin as a foreign currency. We convert it to them, and we give them the reporting in their local currency. One of the fastest growing segments of this business is actually what they call B2B payments. One business paying another business. They happen to be in different jurisdictions, different countries. Using Bitcoin as a rail is actually a very convenient way to do these payments. It's about 10% of our volume, and what we found is that the average B2B payment is about 25 times larger than your average consumer payment. So these payments can be relatively large, and they can be used for all kinds of things. It could be a law firm that has an international client. It could be for a franchise that needs to pay their corporate franchise license fee back to the home office every so often. Import-export businesses. Some of the great use cases we have are companies here in Argentina that have to pay suppliers in Europe, and they do it on a regular basis. And Bitcoin is a much easier rail to do those payments than trying to use the traditional banking system. The disbursements product, this is something that we started with the idea that, hey, if we could just get more Bitcoin into circulation in more people's hands, then maybe that Bitcoin would come back to some of our merchants. It was a great idea, so we went ahead and built a product for this. So disbursements, this can be used for any type of a marketplace, payroll, a mass pay scenario, affiliate networks. Probably the best example that you might be able to relate to is an app store. An app store has apps, and there's developers all over the world that submit apps to the app store. If it's a paid app, Apple does the billing to the user, and then every week they pay out those developers the rev share of what they've earned. They use a platform from a major bank for that today, and it's easy if you have a batch of developers in the US to pay. Your bank can send that. If you have a batch of developers in the Eurozone, one batch for that. But then the whole rest of the world is a lot of one-off, very special payments. And it's very cumbersome. It's a rather manual process. It's tedious. It's expensive. And when something bounces, there's a lot of manual work to redo it. So we think that Bitcoin is just a great way where you can reach potentially billions of endpoints everywhere in the world. It's actually very difficult to pay a developer in Ukraine $100 a week. There's no cost-effective way to do that, but with Bitcoin, it is. One of the other use cases that is popular for us is using Bitcoin as a top-up mechanism into some type of a e-wallet or a debit card or a stored value account. This is a screenshot of NetTeller. It's a very popular e-wallet that people use online. And you have all these different ways that you can top it up. You know, you can add money with your MasterCard. It'll cost you 4%. You can add money with your Visa card. It'll cost you 4%. You can top up your account with Bitcoin. It'll cost you 1%. So as a user, if I'm looking at these options, well, I'm going to navigate to the cheapest one. And Bitcoin turns out to be a pretty popular top-up option for NetTeller users. Another one, Advanced Cash. It's a brand of a virtual MasterCard that you can top up with Bitcoin. Seems to be pretty popular in this area. So a lot of people use that. It's a great use case. If you get paid in Bitcoin, you can now convert it into something that you can spend online. The video game industry is also an area where we've gotten traction. Pretty significant growth this year versus last year. Part of that is we've signed up some new merchants, but also all of our merchants that have been with us for a while, they're seeing their transactions grow. With video games, it's an interesting project because your demographic is going to be young, tech-savvy males. Those are the people who play video games. Well, it's a very good overlap with the kind of people who use Bitcoin. So companies in the space, if they turn on Bitcoin acceptance, they're more likely to get payments coming in Bitcoin than, say, a company selling flowers. So Steam, Microsoft, G2A is a marketplace. These are all companies that work with us, and they accept Bitcoin for purchases and top-ups. I love this chart. This is a chart showing our transaction volume going back to 2013, where in a given month back here we were doing, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 transactions a month, and we were all excited about that. Now we're doing about 6,000 transactions a day, 182,000 for the month to be exact. That's about double where we were this time last year. And you know, if you would look at this little blip back here in late 2013, well, this is when the price rallied up to 1,000, and there was a lot of news cycles around Bitcoin. But if you are familiar with the Bitcoin price, you know that after the next 2 years, the price of Bitcoin was relatively boring. It was down, it was flat, it wasn't in the news a lot, but our transaction volume continued to increase. And if you do the math of that 182,000, or about 6,000 a day, it means that every 14 seconds, every 15 seconds, someone is spending Bitcoin on one of our merchants. So people are really using this, and they're using it very, very frequently. Thank you. This is another new product that we launched back in May. This is a partnership with Visa. It's a co-branded Visa card. Right now it's only available in the United States. We were the second company to launch one of these in the US, but the first to be available in all 50 states. So it's a blue card. It has our name on it. It looks like an airline card or anything else that you would see as a marketing partner co-brand. But we're also a top-up mechanism for our own card. So you can load dollars from any Bitcoin wallet, and that will appear as a dollar balance on your card. You can then either spend it anywhere Visa is accepted, or you can go to an ATM and withdraw cash. So it's actually the fastest way to convert Bitcoin into cash by shooting it onto your card and then walking up to an ATM. We also have a Bitcoin wallet. The name for this is Copay, which started as an open source project. Some of you may know, but this was developed in Argentina. Our development team here built the majority of this product. It's been around for about 3 years. We've got about 200,000 wallets created on the platform since it was launched back in 2014, and we're seeing a pretty good user growth and transaction growth. The wallet is open source. You can also download it from the app stores, or you can play with the code and build it and modify it yourself. Thank you. The other unique thing about our wallet is the wallet is just an application. It connects to an oracle, which we call BitCore. BitCore is your infrastructure that listens to the Bitcoin network, pays attention to your wallet and the addresses that you care about, monitors the blockchain. Our BitCore platform is also open source. So you could download the app, also run your own infrastructure, and then just point your app to use your own infrastructure, and then none of your transactions or addresses are ever known to anyone other than yourself. So with BitCore, if you go to BitCore.io, you can take a look at some of the features that it has, but you can run your own blockchain explorer, you can run your own wallet server. There's a lot of things that you can do for Bitcoin infrastructure that you can run yourself and not have to trust anyone. A couple weeks ago, we also announced our partnership with Intel. This is something that we've been working on with Intel for almost 2 years. Intel, as you know, is one of the leading chip providers in the world. They have a relatively new feature, I say relatively, maybe a couple years, where they have a trusted execution environment. It's a secure enclave within the Intel microprocessor that the rest of the operating system cannot get to. And that secure enclave has a secure channel to the display and the keyboard and other things. So when you're interacting with it, you know that you're directly talking to that secure zone. So Intel worked with us because they've been shipping this product for a while, but they need applications for it. And one of the applications they wanted to build is a Bitcoin wallet that could use the security that they had to store the private keys. So we integrated with Intel. They developed an API for some of the features that we need, and we built to it. So what we're doing is we're generating the private keys directly in that secure part of the chip. We're exporting only the public addresses so that the Copay application can monitor the blockchain and show the user their balances. When you want to spend from the application, it'll create the transaction, but it can't sign it because the keys are not in the app. It will pass the unsigned transaction down to the chip. The chip will verify it, sign it, and then pass it back to you to broadcast. So it's like having an embedded hardware wallet in the PC that you already own. If some of you are familiar with hardware wallets, that's the way they work. Again, this further guards your private keys and your Bitcoin from malware, viruses, or anything else that potentially could steal it. So this is not ready yet. It doesn't have it's not working with multisig, and once it does work with multisig, then we'll launch it, so anyone will be able to play with it. The interesting part about the Intel SGX is they have about 400 million PCs that have already shipped that have this capability. So we potentially could turn on secure hardware wallets for a whole lot of people in a very short period of time. So we've been working on a lot of pieces, and one of the things we've done this year is to try to bring everything together, and we've went ahead and built the BitPay App. So the BitPay App is everything that we built for Copay, kind of reskinned and optimized. It's a lot faster in performance. And we've also added an interface to our debit card, all in one app. So you can see your different Bitcoin wallets, and you can top up your debit card, see your balance, all from the same app. There's some other things that we integrated with it. We integrated with Amazon. So if you're a shopper on Amazon.com, you can convert Bitcoin into an Amazon gift card, and you can do that directly in the wallet. You can actually buy an Amazon gift card for the exact penny increment of your shopping cart, which is kind of cool. And then you can redeem that and effectively shop at Amazon with your Bitcoin. We also integrated with a couple of exchanges, so if you want to buy Bitcoin to reload your wallet, you can do that from within the app. It's worth noting that all Bitcoin wallets are not the same. There's really two categories. Some apps are simply just an access device where you're storing your Bitcoins with a trusted third party. Could be an exchange, could be a hosted wallet. And there's other wallets where you actually store the keys directly yourself and you're not dependent on anyone else. So all of our infrastructure lets the user store the keys on their own devices. The keys are never stored in the cloud, well, unless you want to put them there and back them up, but natively they're stored on your devices. So we call it a true Bitcoin wallet. It's the way Bitcoin was designed to be. You want to leverage the millions of devices out there and not put everyone's Bitcoin in one place where hackers could get to it. You want your keys on your own devices under your physical control. Yep. So also in the app, there's an onboarding flow for new users. There's 4 or 5 screens. It teaches them a little bit about Bitcoin, about keys, about signing, about safeguarding, about making a proper backup. So we did a really good job at this. I think it's probably one of the best little education sessions that you're going to get, in an app. But we wanted to build this because we realized we are starting to onboard new users, with Bitcoin being in the news recently again. So if you want to go in the App Store, it's in the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store. Just search for the BitPay wallet and download it today. So that's all I have. I guess we have time for some questions.
Thank you, Tony. We have... I had a cell phone some time ago. We have yet some minutes for questions. Before doing these questions, I just want to say something about BitPay. Actually, BitPay is one of the companies that build more things, more open source stuff for the community, yes, around Bitcoin. So we in general really appreciate BitPay, and we really would like to have you here, just because we appreciate all the effort you do for the community beyond building stuff. Wonderful stuff. Yes, yeah. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. We have one question there. See, the guys on the booth, also you can raise your hands. Yes, I will try to always keep you in mind.
What's the question about Brazil?
Why you don't have the Visa card in Brazil? I have one.
Well, the card is a product issued by the bank, and the bank is a member of the Visa network. We would love to have a Visa member bank in every country to launch this product. Some of them are more willing to work with Bitcoin than others. We started with the US market because it's where we're based, and it's a relatively large market. And it was a market that we felt was underserved. At the time we started this, there were no Bitcoin loadable debit cards available in the United States. But I think it's only a matter of time before we get other banks comfortable with the program, comfortable with our record of compliance, preventing bad people from using the card, and the things that banks care about. But yeah, we would love to be able to offer one, but I can't give you a date when we would have a Brazilian bank on board. Sorry.
We Bitcoiners don't run. Yes, we just wait and things will happen. We know everything will change and Bitcoin will change everything, everywhere. Just wait. Bueno, who else? Someone else? Yes, there. You're the next one, the last one.
Yeah, the scalability of Bitcoin and the capacity and the discussions around a capacity increase certainly affect us as well as every other Bitcoin company. So we do one transaction every 14 seconds, not 14 per second, otherwise we would break the network. So I think we represent, I don't know, maybe 2%, 3% of all the transactions on the network. So there's enough capacity where we could still double and probably make room for all of our users to do twice as many transactions as they do today. But certainly the Bitcoin network needs some type of a capacity increase, whether it's through directly allowing more transactions per block, or whether it's working with some side chains or Lightning or other technology. I think Bitcoin has proven that it's a success, and you do need to be able to allow more throughput.
And the last one here.
I don't know if you can tell us, but there is a percentage of double spend when people try to use spend. I don't know if you can tell us the percentage or something, but what is the amount?
Sure, the question is around double spending. It is possible with Bitcoin, especially if you're shopping, say at Newegg, where you send Newegg $100 worth of Bitcoin, you convince Newegg to ship you that television, and then you turn around before they catch it and you send that Bitcoin back to yourself. So we have a lot of technology we use to monitor these incoming transactions into our platform, and we detect patterns where it has the potential of being risky, potential of being a double spend. We give our merchants the choice. They can either accept this payment right away and just give the person the goods without waiting, or they can wait until it does appear into a block, and in which case it's up to what they're doing. If you're Newegg and you're selling a television, you don't need to give that television in the next 10 seconds. So it's okay to wait for confirmations. For many types of digital goods where you could potentially revoke access to it, like a domain name, web hosting, and other things, you can accept the payment right away, and if it turns out that it fails, you can bring back the value that you credited the person. Some things, when you give them to the person, you cannot get them back. It could be a gift card that they could go spend immediately. It could be some other type of digital token to download a game, for example, that once you give them that token, you cannot get it back. And so those merchants, if they take payments without waiting, they do assume some risk. But we have a lot of risk mitigation factors that we deploy on their behalf to try to protect them. And for the most part, it works pretty well.
Okay. Well, that's
Great.
it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tonny.